The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And here we are, episode 133.
133.
What is our topic today?
This is field trip to Camarillo State Hospital.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Field trips are fun.
This was a fun one for us, so we're excited to share.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Excited.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, before we hop into that one, do you have anything you want to talk about from last week?
Yes. I have a couple of things here. Every week we do our questions. We answer 2 listener questions. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into that because we have a lot to get to today. Mm-hmm. So the first one is from Susie, and she says, okay, I have an interesting question. Any place and every place I've ever been that has had ghosts, it has been haunted. I have had multiple times that everything calms down when my presence is near. My mother-in-law's house too. I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out what she's saying here because there's no punctuation. Are they afraid of me or are they comfortable around me is the point. She feels like their spirit's always around her, I guess, is the gist of this question.
Okay.
So are they afraid of her or are they completely comfortable? Spirits aren't afraid of anything or anyone. They are 100% in love and light. And so they are completely 100% comfortable around you. And the reason why there's so many spirits around you is because you attract them. I know Susie, she's one of my previous pet sitting clients, and she has this way and she has the intuition and the connection to the other side. So because she has that and the willingness to know that they're there and feel that they're there, they want to be around you. And that's why you feel it wherever you go.
Yeah.
So, and those places, we're going to get into it more later, but they're not really haunted.
Haunted is a word we made up in, I guess, for spooky reasons.
Yeah, right.
I think more of it is occupied.
Yeah.
Or visited.
Right. Visited.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. So I hope that answers your question, Susie.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
Then, yes, thank you. The second one is from Megan, and she asks, what do our loved ones want us to do with their bodies after they pass? And I thought this was a really good question. And I do actually get a lot of readings from people that ask me if their loved one and even their animal is okay with what they did with their remains after they passed. And I think it's important to touch on this because this is a very human thing.
Yeah.
Wanting to bury our loved ones or cremate them and keep them in an urn, this is for us.
Yeah.
This is not for them. When we leave this body, we're happy to leave this body because it's really on loan, you know? And so this morning when I was doing my meditation, I had already read this question. And I was thinking about it. What does the other side, what do the spirits want people to know about what they want done with them after they pass? And this is something I really wish I would have thought about when my mom died. They want us to do the most organic thing possible. Whatever we can do, whether that's just burying in the ground, become one with the earth, because these bodies are on loan. Okay, our soul comes into these bodies, but this energy goes back to the earth. All of this is supposed to go back to the earth, and when we put it into a shell, we're preventing it from going back into the earth and creating more energy and starting the cycle over again. My mom, I buried her in not just a coffin, but they put like another shell.
A cement box.
Yeah, cement box. And then they do the formaldehyde and they preserve the body. And I'm sitting here thinking about all this going, why do we do this?
Right.
Why do we care what that body looks like in the ground? To be quite honest with you, at first that was a terrifying thought of mine of what she looked like in there, you know? Even I can still even get myself going over that.
Right.
It's just not necessary for us to do all of these things.
Right.
They want us to do what we want to do, what makes us happy. And if I could go back and do it over with my mom and my grandma, now knowing what I know, I would not have buried them, even though those were their wishes, because those were their living wishes, but those were not their wishes after they passed.
Right.
I would have done whatever the most organic thing was that I could have. And, maybe here in California, that's cremation. I don't know. I don't know what's really legal, but they're coming up with new and different ways for us to do more natural, organic things with our bodies when we pass. So that's how I hope. That I hope I can give my body back to the earth when I pass.
Yeah, there's like tree pods and types of things, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everything decomposes.
Yes.
Everything dies and decomposes if it's not, burned.
Yeah.
So we're no different.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think that these are the wishes. It's what we as humans have created. And there's a market there.
Yeah.
That this industry can, I don't want to say prey, but they can get money out of people.
Yeah.
By
so much money.
By kind of preying on their sadness and their fears.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, I don't know where this whole thing got started, that we have to have these boxes when we go in the ground and everything. I'm assuming it's probably a religious thing, but I don't know. It makes so much more sense to me now. Like when I meditated and that answer came in, of course they want us to do the most organic thing that we can, because we're not supposed to be destroying this planet the way that we are with all of these different things. But I do want to say that if you feel the most comfortable with burying your loved one, that's okay. Yeah. Like, do what makes you feel comfortable. That's what they prefer. Mm-hmm. But if you have your heart set on something, okay, like my dog Sequoia, our dog Sequoia, she was cremated, and I have her ashes in my office. Mm. Now, knowing what I know, that might seem silly because it's just the remnants of her shell, and her soul is still here with me. Yeah. But something about that brings me comfort. Something about having her still here with us brings me comfort. She doesn't care. She doesn't care that she's, in there, her body's in there in a box, because it's not her. It's her soul is gone. But that's for me. So what I'm trying to say is, you do what's best for you, but take the knowledge and knowing that they are not sticking you with what they originally said. So if somebody says to you, your mom says, I want to be buried. Okay. Right. Once they get there, they realize that that's really not the way it should be. And so they'd prefer you not. So you don't need to go along with those wishes. People are like, oh, you're telling me not to go along with my parents' wishes? No, I'm just telling you that from what I know from the other side, they want us. This is what they want from us. They prefer. So.
It makes sense.
Story.
We can feed life.
Yeah.
By... our soul, our energy's gone at that point. So it's just molecules. It's just flesh. It will feed life.
I'm going to get gross for a second here, because we did have something that happened to us this last week that made me think about this a little bit deeper. Mm-hmm. I have a bird grooming client that is like deep in these lemon fields. Okay. Yeah. Just so many lemon trees, but there were a couple of dead skunks, and we saw a vulture that was looking for it. It knew it was there, right? So that was going into the house. And then coming out, there were probably, like 5 or 6 vultures around these dead skunks. These vultures are doing us a favor. They're cleaning up after things, okay? Yeah. So they're doing it organically. They're helping us. And the other things that they leave behind will decompose into the earth. So we really could learn a lot from the cycle of animal life, of what they do. The whole ecosystem and the cycle works perfectly, but then here we come along and we're like, oh, cement boxes. Makes sense.
It's bizarre. It's like it's supposed to be neat and clean under there, and it's like it's underground. I mean, the whole idea, is to put it back in the ground so it just goes back to the earth. You know? It's bizarre.
It is. The humans, you know, that's really all I can say. I mean, this is a journey, and we learn, you know.
Yeah.
But I hope that as time goes on, that maybe that's something we learn more, and we stop doing so much of these burials. And
I would much prefer just to be cremated and my ashes scattered that way, because that's basically good fertilizer.
Yeah, but I don't know about the emissions into the environment.
Yeah, I mean, I know that
I'd rather be a tree.
Yeah, they're talking about that too, which is true. I could do the tree either way, just somehow without a box, just
the least
back
amount
to the earth without a box.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. So I love that question. Thank you for that, Megan.
Yeah, thank you.
And then I have a reading, because we do one reading every week. Okay, so this is from Melissa, and this is Hamilton, my grand kitten. Will he be the protector and friend my son had been missing since losing his best kitty friend this year? Oh, sweet little black kitten. So that's Hamilton.
All right, cute.
So Hamilton is a feisty one, and I'm assuming I'm assuming that that's because he's still a kitten, because you said grand kitten, but I call even grown kitties kitten. But this one comes off as a kitten to me, and I feel like it has not reached maximum annoyance level yet. So this cat's going to have some bad habits that I think you're going to start to see, or your grandson's going to start to see, especially over the next year, like some biting, not breaking skin, but like behavioral biting, you know, when you pet them and then all of a sudden they just turn on you, those types of things. And I think that these things can be corrected. So I do feel that this cat's going to be good for him, but I do feel that there's going to be a period of time here where you're all going to wonder if this was the right decision. Yeah. Because this cat right now is nothing like the one that passed, okay? That one was older and more wise and not a kitten. And kittens are crazy, and people don't realize that. I didn't realize that until we got our 2 kittens, and I was like, this is like having puppies. They're all over the place, you know? So they're kind of wild, and you have to teach them. As far as like training cats to not do stuff like that, I'm not really sure. I haven't had much experience, but if with the biting, you can get bitter apple and like spray that on hands or wherever they're biting. I know cats a lot of times like the back of the ankles, but I do feel that once Hamilton is older, that he will be much more mellow. So just stay calm and get through the crazy stage, because it will be worth it. He's a really good kitten. He just has a lot of feist, and you know, he's young. Young kittens, kind of comes
with the territory.
It does. They just have to work this out, and you know, puppies are a lot, and you go through a lot of training with puppies, but kittens it's hard to train kittens in that kind of way. You know, you don't really teach a cat to sit and lay down and do all these behaviors. So you have to find a way to teach cats not to do certain behaviors without like doing it in a way that they don't understand. So one way that might be good is a squirt bottle. A lot of people use that. So when the cat goes to bite, you know, like if you know, your grandson's mom sees it or somebody sees it, they grab the squirt bottle and squirt the cat, so that there's, you know, some kind of redirection here, some kind of...
that's the most humane way.
Yeah, or like a can with coins in it, and then you shake it and they don't like the sound of it. Something like that makes noise or, you know, is humane. But like yelling at them and that kind of thing, they don't really understand. Yeah. It's kind of like fighting back. So you have to find a way to redirect their attention and startle them in a different kind of way. So... there's cat training 101 with somebody that doesn't know much about cat training. But that's just my suggestion. Yeah. So, but I think he's going to be a good kitty when he gets a little bit older. So
cool. He looks cute, though.
He is, yeah. Kittens.
Awesome.
So, yeah. So I hope that is good for you, Melissa. Let me know how you feel about that.
Thanks, Melissa.
Yeah.
And Kitty. What was his name again?
Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Yes. Right. It's a big name for a little kitty.
Yeah. Big shoes to fill.
Yeah. Well, he's going to fill them. For sure. Okay.
All right.
So that's all I got.
All right. Very good. Well, then let's hop into it. Episode 133, Field Trip to Camarillo State Hospital.
this was fun. I like doing this. I like going out and trying different things. I've lived here for all but 15 years of my life, and I'm almost 45, so you do the math. Mm-hmm. And I've driven around what is Camarillo State Hospital, but I've never actually gotten out of the car and walked around it. And as a medium, I knew it was going to be intense because you're going onto the campus of what used to be a mental institution.
Yeah.
And we've heard so many stories about it over the years. So this episode is about our field trip, but also kind of addressing the different aspects of the paranormal in these institutions. What's left, these abandoned institutions, or in this case, Camarillo is actually now a college. Mm-hmm. And so what's left there? Mm-hmm. Is it haunted? Or what are we feeling? So that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode, sorry. Mm-hmm. So there are very few institutions in history that bring up more negative feelings than the words mental asylum.
Yeah.
In the early to mid-1900s, state-ran asylums for the mentally ill were infamous for involuntary committals and inhumane treatment, much of which seemed like more like torture than medical therapy. I thought that this was really sad. I never thought about this, but abusive parents and spouses would often threaten commitment to the person that they were abusing.
Yeah.
If you tell, I'm going to say you're crazy and you're going to go to one of these institutions.
Right.
So it really, from everything that I've read, the mentally ill that were like still capacitated enough to make decisions for themselves tried to hide their mental illness. So like depression, bipolarism, those things that they could hide, they tried really well to, because you did not want to go into one of these mental institutions.
Yeah.
These don't exist like they used to anymore.
No.
There was something that happened called deinstitutionalization. It's a big word. And that's the process of replacing long-stay psychiatric hospitals with less isolated community health services. Yeah. So in the 1960s, the laws changed from the early 1900s to limit the abilities to state and local officials to admit people into mental health hospitals. Yeah. This led to budget cuts in both state and federal funding for mental health programs. And as a result, states across the country began downsizing their psychiatric hospitals. And through the 1980s, more and more closed their doors. And then by the 1990s, it was like they were all pretty much closed.
Yeah, I believe Camarillo State Hospital itself was from 1936 to 1997.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely, yeah.
So that's really interesting, just that point in itself, about the stance and how quickly that sort of changed. And look at the amount of money that was being put into state facilities like this throughout the country.
Oh, yeah.
And I haven't been to any other places other than Camarillo State Hospital or CSUN. It's now a sister campus of Cal State Northridge University. But I've been to no other facilities like this.
Me either, yeah.
This thing is friggin' huge.
Massive.
I mean, I couldn't believe how spread out it was. And I'm talking about not just the buildings and how many buildings, but the grass areas, like the courtyards, they're huge.
Right. They're very large.
And then there was factories, because this thing had its own dairy farm, its own store.
Yep.
So there was a lot of activity going on this property.
Yeah.
And it's kind of tucked back in the hills, just not far off the coast, actually.
Yeah.
Near Channel Islands.
Yeah, let me tell you a little bit, actually. That's what I was going to do next. So for those of you that don't know, live around here, because we have listeners all over the world, okay? So Camarillo State Mental Hospital was built in 1936. It housed thousands of mentally ill patients, quote, mentally ill patients, because not all of them were, actually.
Up to like 7,000,
yes,
I think.
It's located in Camarillo, California, just north of LA. And we live one city away from from Camarillo. So it's like 15, 20 minutes to get to Camarillo State Hospital.
Right.
Camarillo State was the largest psychiatric hospital west of the Mississippi when it opened in 1936. By 1957, it housed over 7,000 patients. The conditions of the hospital during its early and most active years were said to be deplorable, and shock treatments and other forms of what were called therapeutic were nothing but torture devices. Yeah. I saw pictures from there and different things, and yeah, unbelievable. So we wanted to go out and feel for ourselves what's out there, But one more fact I want to give before we give you a little bit more information on our field trip is that there is a rumor that this hospital is what the song Hotel California is based after.
By the Eagles.
By the Eagles, yeah. So if I did a poll, and most of our listeners had not heard this.
You've heard the rumor?
They have not heard the rumor.
It's so funny because so many people that I know, it's like we
here.
grew up hearing that story.
Because we grew up here. Right next to it.
Got it.
In Hollywood.
Got it.
Okay. So people all over the country and all over the world have no idea what Camarillo State Hospital is, Wow. This is totally new information to them. So this is something that has gone around in California mostly, with Californians.
For 30 years.
Yeah. And so we don't really know. Glenn Fry and Don Henley do deny that theory in the documentary History of the Eagles. But I've read articles, we both read articles that say that it's possible that for legal reasons, they didn't want to actually say that that's what it was over.
Right.
So the 1976 Hotel California album cover, the picture looks a lot like the Camarillo State Hospital. Yeah.
There's a bell tower at Camarillo State Hospital with some palm trees around it. It looks very similar.
Very similar, but
it's not.
It's not. It turned out to be the Beverly Hills Hotel, which when Don Henley and the other members of the band said what this song was about, that does make the most sense because they basically said that it was about their journey to California, into Hollywood. That was things that most of the members of this band had never seen before because they were from like the Midwest and the East Coast.
Right.
So is it possible? Of course it's possible. I think we just have to, you just believe what you want to believe, basically.
It's an interesting story and the, sort of the coincidences, if you will, about bell tower, at Camarillo State Hospital, bell tower on the cover of the album. But the theory of Hotel California sort of just representing the craziness and the chaos of Los Angeles makes sense.
Yeah.
But I could see that maybe it could have been influenced by such a place as Camarillo State Hospital and them being advised, hey, look, you're dealing with a state.
Right.
And they probably said, this is big government.
Yeah.
You may not want to deal with this situation. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just a possibility, I would think.
I think that when it comes to music, that you put your own interpretation to it. And if that's how you interpret it, is that as a mental hospital type of thing, then that's how you interpret it. Absolutely.
But I have a whole interpretation of it that has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. So let's talk about our field trip out to Camarillo State Hospital, now CSUN Channel Islands.
Yeah.
So first I want to tell a little story that has nothing to do with the mental institution itself, but something that happened to us that shows a little bit of how the universe works, okay? So this is now a college, and you have to find parking, and it's hard because there's so many people there, and there's not a lot of parking lots, right? So we're trying to find a place to park, and the only spot that we find open is in student parking where you need a permit, right? So they have a permit machine. You can go and you can buy a permit. So I was like, all right, we'll just park here and we'll go and, buy the permit. So we go to the machine. I put a card in and it says air. I was like, okay, I'll try another card. No, air. Another card, air. I was like, fine, I'll pay cash. Put a 20 in, won't take it. You put a 20 in, won't take it. I should have known by the third time that this was the universe saying, just don't park here. So we decided not to park there. I got it at that point. I was like, I'm not trying anymore. And this may not seem like a big deal, but this is the way that the universe helps you. We found a closer spot, and we didn't have to pay $6 for parking.
Yeah.
It just took us a couple more minutes to find the parking. But that's how the universe works. It helps you in dumb little ways like that. Mm-hmm. So if something keeps happening and you could get frustrated and like I could have beat the crap out of that machine and made it take my money. But I knew better. I knew the universe was trying to tell me, don't park there. So anyways, so after we parked, well, no, let me back up. We were looking for a place to park, and I knew that when we got there, I was going to start to feel things.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I felt like something was pulling my chest to this area. And I knew what I was looking for. I was looking for the bell tower, but I had no clue where it was.
Right.
I felt this pull, and I told you, I feel a pull in my chest to this area, and we get to this area, and I'm like, that's it. That's where we need to go, right? Mm-hmm. And so we find the parking space, and we go onto the campus. And I'm telling you, for me, I felt it immediately. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you. And I wasn't expecting to. I don't know why. I guess I felt like it's been so many years that I wouldn't feel it. But I'm a medium, so of course I was going to feel it.
I felt it for sure. My first thought was, do the students feel this?
Yeah.
You know, it's not like... It wasn't uneasy. It wasn't scary.
No.
But you could feel just the best way I can describe it is like a thickness.
Heavy.
A thickness in the air around you. Mm-hmm. Just the energy of, and the history. I mean, they've built some newer structures and dorms and things for the students. But most of, not all, the old structures are still standing, and the new ones, they tried to make them kind of look like those.
Yeah.
But they're done in kind of a Spanish villa,
it's very pretty from the outside.
From the outside, thick walls, kind of Spanish villa style, and really, like I said, spread out. Going inside, like when we first got when we're going to looking for parking initially, and we crossed what would have been kind of the center courtyard. The main kind of center courtyard where the administrative building was, is where you said, I'm feeling it right about here.
Yeah.
And we couldn't visually see the tower yet because the buildings are pretty tall, so we couldn't see behind them.
Yeah.
So we parked eventually and then walked to the area where you said, I feel it right here, when we drove past. Yeah. And that's kind of where we entered in the whole courtyard area. Mm-hmm. And again, you could sort of feel it immediately. It was so... What was amazing to me was the energy was so dense, but it was so spread out. Like visually, everything was so spread out.
Yeah.
And big.
Yep.
But you felt like it was all like right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right next to you.
Yeah.
So we walk around the corner, and you were kind of sharing that you had seen visions about a bench.
I wanted to back up and share that for a second, because actually before we got to this courtyard in the middle there, we came upon this area, and I had been having visions and about what we were going to see and where we should stop, where I should sit and talk to spirits. And so what I had seen in my vision was a big tree and flowers and a bench and grass, basically. And so we came upon this area like almost instantly. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this it? Because there were no other benches anywhere. Right. And I had never been on this campus before, so I didn't realize how big it was. Yeah. You know? So I'm like, well, there's only one bench, and then, here's everything else. And you were like, I don't know that this is what you're seeing. Let's keep moving on, So that's what we did. We kept moving on, and then we came upon the center courtyard where I was feeling the draw to, and that's where the bell tower ended up being, was right in this courtyard main center, like quad. Yeah. I think they called it the North Quad.
Yeah. Yeah. And that building looked to be sort of the administrative building back when it was a hospital. Like you could see where like the nurse's information desk would have been. Yeah. And it sort of had a big lobby, very pretty ceilings, like wood, but with all this intricate painting on the wood, and trying to make it a little more welcoming. And right through that lobby was another set of double doors. The bell tower's down at the far end of this building, this particular building, but right through those double doors was the courtyard.
Yeah, that I had been seeing.
And you could feel in this particular building in that courtyard for sure.
Yeah, it was wild because you had mentioned before we walked in there that you hadn't seen anything so far that had said anything about it being a state hospital,
right.
Like memory or whatever. So we walk into this courtyard and I see the bench and everything else that I've seen. Mm-hmm. And when we were in that other area and you said, I don't think that this is the area, let's keep going. Something I heard was ramps. So I knew that there was an extra added something there that I was also looking for ramps. So when we walked into this courtyard, there was a ramp on each side. So I knew we were in the right place.
Yeah.
So we sat down on one of the benches in there, and we sat there for probably 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And we actually have some audio that we recorded that we're going to share with you of our experience and what we were kind of going through and when we were sitting in that courtyard.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's be a good time to do that.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. Okay. You want to tell them a little bit about what they're going to hear?
It's just a quick, about 5 to 6 minute little recording of us just sitting in the courtyard. It's about 2:00, and you'll hear the bell chime at 2:00. But just to kind of get and give you an idea of what Samantha or I could be feeling in this situation. Being in a place that is so historic. At one point, I noticed a casting in the concrete on the building that said 1934. Mm-hmm. So it was well into construction. Yeah. Probably before 1936, obviously. It took a couple years to build. So that was kind of an interesting, neat little... And the thing about it is it felt totally of the era. Nothing. Oh, yeah. Nothing was the original brick. Yeah. All that Samantha's mentioning, the ramps that go up on the sides into the doors, was all its original brick. Yeah. Original windows, crank windows. Mm-hmm. So it just gave you this feeling of being time period. Yeah. Which sort of helped you feel that energy of the residual spirits that, again, I don't think that they're there haunting the place.
No, we'll talk. Yeah, and we'll talk more about that after we play the clip. Yeah,
but we'll let you guys have a listen to it. Again, it's just real short. The audio isn't terrible. There's some wind factor going on a little bit, but hopefully we can deal with that the best we can. Yeah. So have a listen, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, enjoy.
Hello, friends. This is the Joneses coming at you from the infamous Camarillo State Hospital in Camarillo, California, and we're sitting here with the lovely Samantha Jones.
Hello, friends.
And myself, Danny Jones. But we're actually right now sitting right in the center courtyard of what would probably have been the administration building.
Yeah, thinking so.
When you were brought to the hospital initially. We're actually right behind the bell tower, which you're going to hear here in a minute.
Yes.
Strike at 2:00.
About 2 minutes or so left.
But we're just kind of sitting here, kind of in this quiet place. There's some traffic going by, students going to some classes, but not real heavy, and just trying to get a vibe of the energy.
Yes.
And what do you feel?
I've been seeing this place, for a couple of days. I kept seeing this bench in a courtyard with flowers and trees, and then when we got here and I was looking for this spot, I kept hearing ramps. Okay, there's ramp on each side of us. Mm-hmm. So we found this courtyard, and I think that this is where we were supposed to be drawn to, because I think, like, when I see the vision here of what's going on, I see hustle and bustle of, like, nurses and doctors, and it's all, of course, we're talking like 40s, 50s. They're very nicely dressed. They're very polite to each other. It's very different than what you see nowadays.
Yeah, there's a marking up there in the casting of the concrete that says 1934.
Oh, yeah. It's heavy. I wasn't expecting there to be so much residual energy, to be really honest, because, I figured it's been a long time that this has been a college, but I feel it. I see it. I see things in the windows. I see all kinds of things. It's pretty wild. A lot of energy here. A lot of energy.
Yeah, I will say that. The minute we kind of walked onto the main part of the campus, even before we got here, I could feel it.
Yeah.
So we should be hearing that bell.
Yep, at any second
here
now.
Any second, which is pretty amazing. Supposedly the story about this location is also the story of what's claimed to have been for years is the song by the Eagles, Hotel California.
Yes.
Which is supposedly about this, and kind of we were reading up about it, and first I grew up hearing that story.
There it is.
There it is. Wow.
Yeah, 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, it says.
Wow.
So the story that I grew up, understanding about that song was that it was about this place. And then we kind of read later on in other publications that no, it in fact wasn't about this place.
Right.
And then you dig a little further and to find out that it actually was about this place, but they were encouraged, meaning the band themselves, to not connect it to that because of rights, you know, that they would have to either pay or
pay the state
or whatever. But I mean, it clearly, even though it's not the same location, the picture on the album looks pretty dang close to the bell tower and palm trees that are there here.
Yeah.
As well as on that album cover. So I find that an interesting story. It has, that song itself has the feeling this place captures.
Mm-hmm. No, it does.
It's really weird.
The hallways are really weird. It's it really is like being in a hospital.
Yes, indoors you can feel it even more so. It's definitely feels like a hospital.
Yeah, it looks like it feels like it.
I would probably have a hard time getting an education.
I could. There's no way. Between the way that it looks and the energy that I feel, there's no way.
Yeah.
I wonder for kids that are sensitive and maybe don't know that, what do they feel? I'd love to know, But yeah, it's a pretty wild place, that's for sure.
Well, we got lots of photos too, so we'll be sifting through those and seeing what we can find, and if anything shows up in those. And hopefully this recording itself is decent enough that we can share with you in a snippet on the podcast. So that's about all, though. We just kind of wanted to share that we're here, and we definitely feel it and believe that, not that these people per se hang around here like they're stuck in some sort of, purgatory or limbo. I think that they're simply here because they know we're here to seek answers.
That's exactly
and
what I was
to have proof. And once we leave, they might hang around for a little while and remember the old days and then go back to what they're doing.
Yeah. It's not all bad, though.
No, I don't think that everybody that was housed here or cared for here wanders around here aimlessly in spirit. Don't feel that at all. I just feel like when you seek these things, they're obliging you by giving you their energy and showing you, it's true.
Yep, absolutely.
So, but it's a neat experience. I'm glad we did this.
Me too. Yep.
All right. Well, that's our report. We're signing off.
Yep.
From here from Camarillo State Hospital in the lovely sunny Camarillo, California. Goodbye, friends.
Bye, friends.
All right. So there's our little on-site audio from Camarillo State Hospital. Hope you guys enjoyed that little snippet.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
It was very interesting. So I started having visions when we got there, but once I sat down on that bench, I started seeing more and more things. And I wanted to share some of the things because I think one of the things I hope that people will take away from this episode is what is actually going on at a place like this. Mm-hmm. Because I asked our listeners, what do you think is happening? Do you think that this is haunted and that these spirits are stuck there? Or do you think that they're visiting you and telling you their story? Or what's going on? Is it residual energy? So I want to explain what I felt. And we both felt the residual energy. And what residual energy is basically there's bad that's happened there. And when something bad happens, it creates negative energy. It's not a negative spirit. It's negative energy. That's why people sage their home, and they're getting rid of the negative energy in the home. So when you have so many years of abusive behavior in an area that's concentrated like that, you're going to have residual energy. You're going to feel the heaviness of the things that have happened there, especially if you're sensitive. So that's the first thing that's going on there. The second thing that's happening is that these spirits want to tell their stories. They are not living there. They do not stay there. They're not trapped there. They're not miserable. They're not bad ghosts or bad spirits. They're not the same that they were when they were human. I think that that's what a lot of people think, is that you now have a ghost that has the same personality as when it was committed to this mental institution. Right. And that's not what's happening at all. Right. You have a spirit with mental clarity now, because it's just their soul, and they saw their life. They saw what actually happened and what was actually going on there. So when they come to visit us and tell us they're trying to tell us their stories. They want to tell us what actually happened there, you know? And for me, so the very first thing that I saw when we got to the campus, and it was really hard for me, and so I was trying to kind of block things out, was I saw people in the windows that were yelling and, you know, obscenities and stuff out the windows. There's bars on the windows. So the windows were open, but they could scream out, you know, what I was seeing, which was a little bit disturbing, because I was hoping to go there and be able to debunk even the fact that there was negative things going on there, which I can't. It got better, is my belief, is over time that wasn't happening as much, and they were able to help more patients, because there are a lot of people that did get help there. One of the things that I saw as we were walking through one of the areas was somebody hanging from a tree. And they were hanging by sheets, is what I saw. Well, I did come across an article about somebody, a staff that hung themselves from the tree there.
Oh, it was a staff member.
It was a staff member. When I see those types of things, sometimes I want to believe it's my own imagination. Like, you're not really seeing that person hanging from that tree.
Right.
But no, I was really seeing that person hanging from that tree. And I think that goes to show that, you know, why did they show me that it was a staff member? Well, I think that's because it shows that it wasn't just the inmates there, or the people that were committed there that had a hard time with what was going on. It was the employees as well. And, you know, I'm sure that there's a lot of regret and stuff that happened there in that time.
Yeah. I mean, reading some of the stuff about it, they supposedly were making a lot of advancements in certain diseases. I think some of it was Alzheimer's. I don't remember some other things too, which that's wonderful, you know, for science and for the advancement of us. But you kind of got to wonder what cost, like what was going on. What kind of tests are we talking about here?
They were testing on people like they were animals, which isn't right either, but
So that part becomes a little bit sad.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of that energy that you feel, you know, is that, I don't know, their unwillingness for some of it, you know?
Yeah. Now, there were grass areas there, big, large, open grass areas. And I tried to, you know, close my eyes, see what happened here, what went on in this grass area. And my feeling is they did bring people out there to exercise them, to get fresh air. It wasn't all bad.
No.
When we were sitting in the courtyard, I remember hearing that they had different segregated areas. So they kept different types of people with different types of people. They had children's areas. They had, you know, women's areas. When the bell was going off, I was actually having visions of inmates holding their ears and screaming.
Yeah.
So this told me that there were inmates that couldn't handle that. So I asked, well, what did they do with them? You know, they put them on the outskirts, the outside buildings. And then as we were walking back to the car, we could hear the chimes, and that putting them on the outskirts, you could barely hear it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it wasn't like all bad. They did do some positive things to help the people there.
Yeah.
But people were committed for no reason. There was one story that I read about a man that was committed at Camarillo State that was only committed for speaking a different language. They couldn't communicate with him, and they wouldn't release him because at that time, being able to commit someone was so easy. It wasn't hard at all.
Yeah.
You know? I read a lot of stories, and it makes me really sad that this is what we have, you know, in our history. But these spirits, they tell their stories, and they want us to know what they went through. And it's hard. It's hard to go there and hear those kinds of things. But at the same time, there was good stuff. I did see, like, you know, there were, it wasn't all bad. I did see different, why do I keep calling them inmates? Patients. Hugging staff and, you know, loving on them and some being affectionate with them. And I know that in the earlier times there was a lot of inappropriateness, you know, sexual misconduct going on there. But towards the 80s and the 90s, before these places closed, I feel like they really did try and help more with these types of people. And I think one of the reasons I keep calling them inmates is because by the time that Camarillo closed, most of the people that were housed there were criminals. They weren't there because they were mentally ill. They were criminals.
Right.
They didn't have any other place to put them. So that's where they were.
Got put in those situations.
Yeah.
There was some nice success or pretty happy ending stories about some of the staff that took patients with them home.
Yes, after it closed,
and cared for them after, which I thought, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But you could see, obviously, with a facility like that and 7,000 people as patients, that there's different levels of mental illness that if some of them even had it.
Right.
But that you're dealing with. So there was stories in there because they had such a vast property. They had their own store and stuff. So they take them to, like, the ones that they could.
Right.
To, like, outings where they would go shop for their this or that, and they would go get milk or whatever it was to get them.
Yeah.
You could, some of the later stories like you're sharing of these people that really did care. I agree with you. Early on, there was a jacked up situation and system that could be highly manipulated and taken advantage of that sucks for those people. I don't feel like I said earlier, and in that snippet, that these people are stuck there. Like, they're not wandering around as a spirit aimlessly stuck in purgatory at this place that they used to live as a human, waiting for somebody to connect to tell their sad story to.
No.
That's not at all. I think they simply only oblige us for those that believe that spirits are real and can communicate with you. They just oblige by showing up when you're there because they know you're there seeking answers and truth about what is or isn't.
Right.
And they're simply there to help.
Right.
And I think that, do they visit it from time to time on their own? Maybe, but I don't think so. I think for a lot of them, it probably wasn't a great memory. So it's like hanging out in a cemetery. You're not, that's just your bones.
Yeah.
You know, it's not where you are. It's not who you are. You're still alive.
Yep.
But you're just not in a body.
Yep.
So I really appreciate that. You know, I appreciate that they, and this has been more than once for us, that we go out to certain locations and seeking certain things, confirmations or answers or anything we can get. And we've been pretty lucky.
Yes. To
have had these experiences, and took some photos there of on the grounds as well. And there was a couple interesting ones that I was like,
Yeah.
You know, you got to do a lot of blowing up and sort of searching because they're not always really huge. They can be small and stuff.
Yeah, sometimes you can see some interesting things.
But yeah, I think the experience was well worth it.
It was,
I've driven by it when it was still open as a hospital, but it was at night and it was kind of dark, winding road. that's what's so interesting about the song Hotel California is that it sort of, not only does it encapsulate that feeling of that energy that I felt standing there, the music really mirrors that feeling.
Yeah. Sure.
It's not dark, but it's not happy.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in between, you know, like it's just very hard to explain.
Yeah.
And some of the references in the song, you feel like you could easily connect it to a place like this.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing that was very interesting that we found out from while we were there is the difference between the outdoors and the indoors.
Oh, yeah.
The outdoors looked nice.
It was beautiful, like, besides the bars on the windows. Yeah,
besides the bars on the windows. But it was very well kept. It looked nice. But when you walked inside, it felt like a hospital.
A hospital. It felt like a hospital with the lights off. It was so weird. I did not like going in there. That's where I felt the most stuff. That's where I saw the most stuff. I saw the nurses at the nurses station and patients behind the doors. Because, you know, you go into hospitals and some of them, they have the room, the doors, they have a little window next to it. And so I was like seeing things in the windows and stuff. And, you know, there's a lot of things that happened there and a lot of things that shouldn't have happened there and a lot of people that should not have been there.
Yeah.
So if you're sensitive like I am or like we are and you go to these types of places, you're going to feel something. I felt anxious, but it wasn't. And I told you at the beginning, it wasn't anxiety. It wasn't like the normal anxiety when a spirit is coming in. It was jittery. It was this weird type of nervous energy that went away once I started connecting and getting, you know, into things. But yeah, so if you go to a place like that, and you feel those types of things, you feel the energy, the heaviness, the jitters, please just know that nothing's going to hurt you, that there's nothing that is stuck there. You don't have to help them cross over. Nothing like that. No. They just want to share their story with you. Right. And if you listen to their story, you'll learn a lot. You know, I keep having this vision of this little boy running across the campus. I don't know why. But I keep having this vision, and I feel like, you know, a lot of people see stuff like that. They see this little boy or whatever, and they think, oh, the campus is haunted by this little boy or whatever. Well, no, maybe he's just trying to tell you a story. Yeah. You know, he doesn't live there. He's just telling you a story. Right. You know, and they probably get good entertainment out of it too. Really, you would think. Right. You know, like, hey, watch what I can make this human do. Yeah. You know.
Well, Gabe shared a story with you that he was doing some work on the campus for a short period and that there was a young guy.
Yeah. There was a kid,
that they used to leave him sit on the back side of the building.
Two different people. Oh. Hold on. So there was a kid that would always go missing. Okay. And this could be the kid that I'm seeing. I'm not sure.
That's what I was
I'll have to look it up. Yeah. No, those are two different stories. So he told me that there was a kid that used to go missing. He would escape all the time, and they would usually find him up in the hills and stuff because it is like totally surrounded by mountains and then the beach. Yeah. So, but there came a time when they did not find him. And they noticed in the kitchen that there was, you know, you have like the drains in the floors, that it wasn't draining. And so they kept pouring like boiling water down and bleach down there trying to get it to open up. And finally they went down to see what it was. And it was the boy, that he was stuck in there, that he had crawled into that pipe and he was stuck in there. So I could see, I'll have to look up the story because the kid that I'm seeing is probably like 7 or 8 years old. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, and then the other one that he told me was more that he felt like maybe there was neglect going on there because he said that this was in the 90s and he was doing some community service there and there was this boy or, you know, a young adult or he couldn't really see. He said he had a hoodie on and, you know, kind of had his hoodie pulled down. But he was in the same spot for 8 hours. So Gabe was doing the work there. And then, you know, he could see this guy. And he said he would, you know, he would move. He would lay on his back or, you know, whatever. but literally in the same spot, and nobody came out to give him anything or to check on him or anything. I'm assuming just because this was his everyday routine, that may not have been neglect, but there was definitely neglect going on there and abuse going on there. Absolutely. Sure. Yeah. So I know we have a lot of local friends that have stories of things that have happened there. They, they've been there and know things. But yeah, even with all the horrible stories, I still saw good things there. I still saw beautiful flowers and staff some that did care, and so yeah.
Another interesting closing fact about it is that the last day in 1997 when it closed, the superintendent at the time cranked Hotel California over the PA that covers the whole campus for the whole day. He cranked that song.
Yep.
And I thought, well, that's kind of funny. That's weird.
Because you heard the rumors, so you put it with it somehow. Yeah.
But at least they closed out on a good note then.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed going out there, and even though it's sad, I learned a lot and I felt a lot. And, I would definitely... I like doing those things.
It kind of felt like it was similar to maybe visiting... It might sound silly because we don't really... We go to your mom's grave sometimes, but we don't do like it as a tradition per se.
No.
But I felt like it was sort of paying homage to those people.
Yeah.
Honoring them for what they had to experience there.
Yep.
By just going and visiting and seeing what it was like, And I had been curious my whole life to walk onto that place. Like, what is it like, So I felt privileged that it was a time where, it became something that I could.
Yeah, me too. And that I could go there and see things and talk to spirits, and it was quite the experience, and I appreciate them coming forward and talking to us and showing me these things, and that's what they want. They want to share their story. So when they have somebody to share it with, they love to do it. And I know that for some people it may sound like a buzzkill because we're not sitting here going, "Ooh, the scary."
Right.
But we have to be real.
Yeah.
And all of that hype is hype. It's not real. The whole movie stuff, it's just not real, and the spirits want us to know that. They want to set the record straight and tell everybody they're not stuck.
Yeah.
It's
good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yay.
Well, it was fun.
It was.
Thanks. It was fun to do a field trip.
Yeah. We'll have to do more of those.
Yeah.
We live in a place where, there's haunted areas all over the place.
Yeah.
So different areas we can go and hear the spirit stories.
Yeah. Actually, we have one scheduled for January.
Yeah, we do, don't we?
We can do something there, maybe.
Yep, we can.
I don't know if we'll get away with it, but we'll try it.
We'll try, yeah. But we'll keep it a secret for now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, before we say goodbye to everybody, would you like to share your page?
I would. I have two things I want to talk about first. I forgot to mention in the beginning.
Okay.
First, we are going to re-air episode 30, which is in memory of the Borderline 12. And we're doing this because today is the 3-year anniversary of a mass shooting that happened in our small town, the one we live in currently. So we're going to be re-airing that.
Awesome.
And the other thing we've talked about him in the episode so much, I wanted to send our condolences to Gabe because he lost his mother this week. So,
sorry, Gabe. Love you, brother.
Yeah, we send our love and all.
Yes, very nice.
Yep. So, and then my page.
Yes.
Let's do that. SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com is my page. You can make an appointment there, learn all you need to know about me, and, all that good stuff.
Yay.
And then you, sir.
Oh, yes. For my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram and Facebook. And I am currently working on a new piece. I won't divulge what it is yet, but I like it.
Soon.
Yeah. So that's it for me.
Yay.
Awesome. Well, we hope everybody got something out of this.
That we do.
It was fun.
Yes.
And we hope to get to do some more of these types of field trips and share it with you.
That we do.
Cool. Well, we hope everybody has a great week.
Yep.
And until next week, peace and